magnification of my style.
Mark's saying that he feels a bit low-key.
Incredibly low-key.
He's been really down at the weekend. But I suspect... Who thinks he will cheer up through coffee mode?
It generally has the desired effect.
It activates him.
It's like caffeine of the eyes, ears, nose and mouth. Well, yeah, it's like caffeine.
I think we're all feeling a bit like that at the moment, aren't we? This crazy world. It starts like, But hey, Vlogmas is coming soon. Lean over, Mark. Let them see the arch. So this was the arch for Dina's surprise birthday. My sister, if you're new to here and you don't know, that's my big sister. And so we were thinking... It was Dina's suggestion, actually. Why don't you keep it up there and Christmas it for Christmas?
Christmassy by it.
How long would Holly last?
A long time.
We could do it with Holly. Oh, it might be a bit dangerous.
I've got pen and paper, have we?
Might be a bit dangerous. I can put it in my phone.
Yeah, Lucy Williams, welcome.
Lucy Williams,
welcome. I think you might be returning back. I recognise your name.
Lucy Williams, welcome to the family guest
Drew Osler, how's Lee Peart after his fall? If you don't know who Lee is a friend of Nadia's and the family. Aren't you, Lee? And Lee made his debut in Green Fingered Hell this week. As he was
apparently it was
handed
so good,
the keys to the garden, which lots of you loved. Oh, can you also jot down Carol?
Hi, Carol.
Gowdy,
How are you?
But of course, Lee, I still can't get to the bottom of what happened.
Carol, stay to the end. New subscribers to the
Carol
family guest
Gowdy.
area because we'll sing you a welcome song.
Yeah, what happened to Lee?
So basically, he was in a bar and it was very slippery, and he slipped first of all because all kinds of people were slipping over. He's a bit pissed off because everyone said, "Were you pissed?" I said, "You can't really blame people for thinking that." But anyway, he wasn't pissed. He slipped over when he first got there and banged his knee, so he's really got a really sore knee.
Ow!
Then he fell over again and broke his nose and gashed his head. Spent 13 hours in A&E. Oh look, Lee Fingered Hell.
Yeah, no, that's what he called it, wasn't it? It was very
did
good. Yeah, very good. God almighty, Lee. I mean, I saw the photograph,
Is he here?
but it's a proper... Well, I don't know, but
He's in his sick bed.
It was need to get the advent calendars, someone said. FPL Fozzie.
Yeah, go to It's Lee Peart and look at his story, because I know it wasn't supposed to be funny, but it really made me laugh.
Yeah.
So, 13 hours, I know. A broken nose. Anyway, so, why have we got A&E in a Lobster?
No, because that was a story that I sent you. Can you forward
Oh, I
it?
didn't read it.
Yeah.
What is it? I didn't see it.
I just wanted, off the back of this, I wanted to talk about it. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. Can you forward I sent it to your...
Yes.
Okay, no, I've got it.
Oh, yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, this is the story on that note of the A&E chief, accident and emergency chief, who's desperate to keep his own parents out of hospital.
That's why I'm glad my parents are in
with
Jordan.
hundreds dying every week because of bed blocking. And this is interesting. He uses the analogy of the NHS being a lobster trap, because 13,000 beds in hospital are taken up by people who could actually leave, but there's no room in care homes. There's not enough places in care homes to put them. So you essentially have 13,000 people who, if they weren't in hospital, they wouldn't have anywhere to go.
And whose fault is that? Care workers. Let's just remind ourselves for a moment about the pandemic and what they went through. They are appallingly paid. The fuel crisis is impacting on them terribly because they don't get all their fuel paid for. That's where the government need to be investing. Do you remember our NHS increase so that they could put that money into social care? Well, where's that bloody gone? And the thing is, yesterday there was this woman on the radio, she was giving incredible figures of what she's having to pay out because she signs off for private agency nurses and agency care
the amount
assistants.
they're doing for,
And it is the most extraordinary amount
For
of
contract
money.
work, yeah.
Whereas if they just gave that rise to the nurses and to the care workers, they wouldn't be paying that out on agency
Yeah, they
fees.
end up paying agents. They end up paying contractors and agency fees so much higher. The name of the
If
guy
anyone
is...
here is a care worker, you are fucking amazing. That's what I want to say.
Bed blocking has been happening for many years, Helen, but I think it's sort of reaching a bit of an apex now. Dr. Adrian...
Don't you wish they
Dr.
could change the saying? Bed blocking. That's some poor person that has nowhere to go and no one to look after them, and they're called bed blockers. I hate it.
Dr. Adrian Boyle, the president of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine. I just want to read more what he says because it's kind of revealing.
Yeah.
He says hospitals are like lobster traps, i.e. they're easy to get into and hard to get out of. If social care was able to do its job in the way we wanted to, these poor people wouldn't be stranded. I have elderly parents and I'm desperate to keep them out of hospital. And this is it. For someone who is frail, hospital is often a bad place for them. They're being harmed by being in hospital. I mean...
Well, because of this thing that happens where they get this disorientation,
Yeah.
that's why.
But also he's saying that you will literally end up not leaving. 13,500 beds are occupied on average by people who could leave if there was proper care facilities. I don't know, it just reminded me, because what I've been saying to the girls a lot more about when they're playing, I mean, this is quite a serious thing, about them playing, about being silly and all this kind of stuff, and youngsters that get drunk. You want to, as much as possible, more than I've ever remembered in our lives, you need to now try to think twice about, can I cope with an injury? I mean, it's like I've got a tendonitis thing going on here, and I've got something else going on somewhere else. I can't remember what it was. But each time I get something, I think, fucking hell, I can't actually go and see someone in the hospital. I've got to have my blood taken this week. And I just think...
Oh, my God. Him having his blood taken has become... So, honestly, girls, you will understand it. This man has to have a blood test on when?
I'm phobic of
No,
blood.
you're not. You're a fucking scaredy cat. No. There is no phobia here. But it just made me laugh. All that we have to go through as women, and he's got one blood test. Even my girls don't fuss about a blood test.
You all watch it. You like it. I don't. I don't like watching my...
I said it's fine as long as the needle isn't blunt. Then it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. A blunt needle going into your arm. Fucking hell. Jesus.
I want to come and watch you have your blood test.
But the thing is, they always appear to take so much, so you can't help but feel that part of your body is just decompressing or
Yes, Debbie,
deflating.
what did happen to that 350 million on the Brexit bus? What did happen to that?
Bus.
Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go?
We were lied to. It's like someone said on the radio the other day.
We were lied to. And let's not forget Matt Hancock on Celebrity Get Me Out of Here on Saturday or Sunday night, whenever it was, joyfully explaining to us all how they lie.
Well, can I just say about that before we
Really
get hot under the collar like Richard Madeley did?
Richard Madeley was talking
It's
about
not
it,
a
so-
surprise.
Listen, we all
know
know,
they
we
do it.
all know,
Pivots. They
we
pivot.
all know that they pivot and they avoid questions.
I think
But to have a man, right, who's already been paid to be an MP in the jungle, earning a fortune, when there are tens of thousands of people who will be feeling like it's a punch in the face to them because they feel now silly that they followed the guidance of not to comfort their relatives at a funeral and not to go to the funeral, and all of these things that people have felt because they felt ashamed that they listened to the guidance. To watch that man standing in the jungle making a joke of it. Oh yes, that's what we do. Oh, it's a pivot. Yes, we look at each other and we work out what pivots you're doing. Was a fucking disgrace. It was a disgrace. And unfortunately, he is funny in there. And unfortunately, he is being really lovely with everybody. And unfortunately, he's now been made leader. But we mustn't forget these things. I said to Mark yesterday, there's every bloody chance he could become the leader of the Tory bloody party. I said it here first. And it made me very cross.
Yeah, okay, my take on that whole thing around pivoting and dodging questions, I just didn't... we just know it happens. I mean, the college, weirdly, at Goldsmiths College, where I went to film school, they used to have an area in the film studios area, where they did all of the politician training. So they had like, and this was back in...
Oh, they don't know what we're saying, pivot. Some people didn't see it.
Oh, pivot is when you shift from one direction to another, or you change your position and you take a different direction. You're talking about one thing and you move over to something completely different.
So Matt Hancock was explaining that how they dodge questions, how politicians dodge questions, and they pivot. We know they do that, but he was saying it in such a I don't know, just sort of infantile way, and how they all spot each other's pivots. And he was just finding it funny. And we've had years of these people avoiding the answers. And I just found it really disrespectful.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say.
To try and make a joke
The two aspects of it are, it's not a surprise, but he could have been a bit more shamefaced about it. And he could have sort of, been, done that thing where he goes, well, it is what we do, but you know what? It's kind of, it's not good.
It was more the boys' club. It was more like that. It was more boys' club. That's what we do. That's a good point, Faith. And I think this sometimes even on Loose Women, when we're not even interviewing politicians, but Faith just said that I wish they would give them more time to answer the question and reveal themselves. But there's this enormous pressure, call it in live TV, dead air, and dead air is like, the thing everybody fears. So that's where sometimes you think, why did they rush another question?
Politicians prefer obviously time-constrained live interviews.
They love it.
Because they know they've got a ticking clock of available time.
So they'll fill the air,
You try and arrange a sit-down interview with someone with an open-ended kind of mic, sort of like, and can we sit down and have a chat with you for an hour? They'll never give you it. They'll never do it. My only other thought about Matt Hancock is he might decide after this. You never know.
That really angers me. I know.
He might come out of this and he might decide to turn his back. If he was to turn his back on politics and say, I'm going to expose it for everything it is, rightly or wrongly, obviously he'd earn a load from it. But
I think if he'd said it it would have shifted things for me with him. If he'd said, I am looking for forgiveness and I'm looking at everything that we've done and I do feel some shame for it. I understand that's how politics, but when you actually look at it and when I've actually now spoken to people and heard how they feel about it, that would have been different. We've not heard that from him.
This is interesting. In terms of the programming, this is interesting. Ellie Denning, getting bored of him doing the trials, turned off last night. Charlene Horrocks, it's sucking the life out of the programme, Matt being voted for time after time. He's winning the tasks and it's not enjoyable for me to watch, seeing him suffer like we all did during the pandemic.
I don't think he's suffering.
No,
I think he's absolutely loving it. You can see him go, no, I'll get that. No, I don't. He's trying to show us what a doer he is, what a great politician is, what a team player he is. This is a fucking full-time advert for him to con us and gaslight us into the fact that he wrote the guidance and broke the guidance. But it's interesting. It's a PR dream for him.
The only one in there who doesn't feel like he's been charmed, if you like, by Matt is Boy George. Boy George seems to be the only one.
And Tyndall and Chris Moyles.
Oh, Mike Tyndall. Oh, what about Mike Tyndall revealing what possibly the Royals think of the Tories?
Because I can't go home and Matt Hancock having won.
Oh my God.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God. And but I don't think the papers picked up on it today. Did they? Because we said that would be big news tomorrow.
No. Your flashing lights could cause epilepsy, someone said.
Oh, let me turn them off.
We'll turn them off. I do believe they're far enough away, and from my memory of what technically they allow in broadcasting, it needs to fill the screen, but we will turn them off for sure.
There we go. Oh, they're still flashing.
Just unplug it.
Oh, it's nice to have them on.
Yeah, otherwise all Christmas trees would cause it.
Yeah, only Christmas trees.
No, absolutely.
We'll turn it off now.
But we will turn it off.
And we'll put a warning up.
No mention, Ruth Blandford says, of dyslexia either. But again, they might have done, and they might have cut it out.
To be fair, he could have been talking about it non-stop, but they would cut it out. But somehow I don't feel they would cut it out. I tell you why. Because ITV will also want a bit, to say that there's something else going on here well, maybe I shouldn't say any of that. But, they won't want to look like they've just put him in for...
Anyway, I've done a poll for 3 days in a row now in terms of whether you've softened towards Matt Hancock or not. The first day it was 24% had softened, the next was 32%, and today it's 36%. So it's creeping up.
Be careful.
It's creeping up.
Be careful, guys. This is a PR dream. Let me just ask you this. Have we heard him say, he said, I'm looking for forgiveness. Have you heard anything where he has said, because believe you me, if he'd said it, they would have put it in the programme. Have we heard him say, do you know what? I had no idea how much I'd hurt people. I had no idea that I triggered people back to when they had accepted the guidance and followed the guidance and not been there for their family. Have we heard anything like that? Or have we heard, I suppose I just want forgiveness? I'm a great believer in forgiveness, and if he gave a full and really, what's the word? A full and meaningful apology, where I felt he'd heard what people's grievances was, I would start to forgive him. But I haven't heard that. He's gleeful when he's doing the trials because he's thinking, look how brilliant I look.
Well, no, I'll tell you what I think is creeping in for him. I think what he's forgotten is he's busy, he's enjoying having won essentially the hearts of his team, of his campmates, which he kind of has. And he sees that going out and getting as many stars as possible is all part of that.
Well, no, he's won their bellies.
What he's forgetting is this is just a show where they're all, everyone, I mean, you remember Big Brother, everyone is just pulling together and all that kind of stuff. And they're doing it for telly, and they're doing it because they're in extraordinary circumstances. But what he has forgotten is that people are watching this, and no one. What I haven't seen. Well, no. But what I haven't seen. No. My point is a second thought to that. I don't think he has the capacity to understand what a meaningful emotional apology is, and I don't mean that as a criticism of him. I just think a lot of people who go into politics don't. Don't apologise. It's often said, don't apologise for anything. Don't say sorry for anything, otherwise you reveal that you've made a mistake. I don't think he has the capacity to say sorry any more than he has.
But he hasn't said
No. Well, he said, his line on it is, and this I believe is the truth of him, I fessed up and I resigned. That shows no understanding of the complexities of what everyone's upset about. And he does come across as a sort of 12-year-old public schoolboy who,
having
to
the time
to
of
that
his
extent,
life.
is kind of funny to watch every now
Every time
and
you
then.
send him on a trial, he's having the fucking time of his life. This is boys' world. I mean, nothing phases him. He's not scared of snakes because he wouldn't have been able to there with those snakes jumping at him. We are playing into the PR stunt. It's a stunt. Laugh at him, I do, I laugh at him, but he's not going to bloody fool me. This is a dream. If he gathered together 10 million quid and paid a PR company to rectify his reputation, he wouldn't be able to get
I suppose the thing
It
I'm trying.
wouldn't
I suppose the thing I'm trying to say
Like,
is even if he spent a lot of time saying sorry, it goes back to your thing of you can say sorry, but not really understand why you're saying you're sorry. And I think he falls totally into the camp of however much he says sorry, I don't think he will ever comprehend.
Because he's not
what he
said
needs to
one
be
word about
needs to be
it.
sorry
That's
for.
why he's not said one word about it. And Boy George, Chris Moyles, who I find, I just can't bear Chris Moyles. Boy George, Chris Moyles, Tyndall, the older woman, who I can never remember her name, she's totally wised up to it. She's Scarlett.
Scarlett's good. She's the one who keeps saying, when he became head of the camp, kept saying, is this guidance or is this rules?
That was such
a good moment.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
When she said that, that was the best line. I was jumping up in the air with that. But
Hi,
anyway.
Latchford Lad 82. I'm a new sub. Oh, well, welcome, Michael.
Welcome.
Welcome. Okay, well, look, you want to talk about this, don't you? You sent this story through. Metropolitan Police's terror chief wears a hot flush vest to understand the menopause. Yard boss who tried to feel authentic symptoms at work is accused of woke stunt.
Right, so I've just been listening to all this nonsense about this on Nick Ferrari, and listened to 3 different menopause experts also talking on the radio this morning, and also the people that invented the menopause vest, who use it to take into the workplace. So he wore it for an hour, and Nick Ferrari's whole shtick is, well, how can he say that? I'm sure a woman goes through a lot more than an hour, and why is an anti-terrorist guy? How's he going to do his job properly if he's having the whole flush, which in itself is such a fuck up. But basically, she explained, the woman who invented it, the company, is that this is at the end of a full workshop of a day where women talk, and where it's explained to people what actually being in the workplace with the menopause is like. Now, the reason for this is because there is a massive brain drain across all companies, because women who are going through the menopause often feel so isolated within the workplace, no understanding, employers can be incredibly inflexible with the changes that a woman's going through. And apparently, this was another menopause expert, was saying that the police are one of the most fantastic employers in understanding about the menopause and taking steps in that. Now, surely that's fantastic. And also, if we're talking about it, the more we talk about it, the better. So if this is a stunt, if this is being woke, I don't really care, because I think the more conversations we have it, and the more about it, and the more understanding there is, better for everyone. The menopause isn't just about women. Mark will tell you, he was impacted by my menopause. My kids were impacted by my menopause. My work colleagues were impacted by my menopause. Even the audience were, because my mind would go completely blank sometimes when I was talking. So, you know, it's 50% of the population. The workforce here is decreasing all the time in this country, and we need one. And we're losing good women who just go off and set up their own businesses and work from home because there's no understanding.
Well, they're setting up businesses, though. FPL Fozzie, isn't it the mental side that's an issue too? Can't recreate that. Mo Power, why not just turn the heat up in the office?
No, I think there is something else that they do so that you can help brain fog.
Faith Goodman says, what about the emotional side of the menopause?
Of course. There are 100 symptoms, recognised symptoms for the menopause, right? So in no way are they saying this, you know, gives you the experience of a menopause. And actually, I think they should wear it over days so that you don't sleep and all of that stuff. But don't forget, it goes alongside a workshop where all of this is explained and women will stand up and talk about their experiences. So I actually think it's a great idea. I don't see why we have to... It's the Daily Mail, isn't it, knocking it.
So what do you do? So you wear it?
You wear the vest and it gives you the symptoms of hot flushes.
And with the same sort of sporadic nature as they hit you?
Now, the thing is, I never had those extreme hot flushes. But it is so debilitating. There was an actress that I worked with. She would be standing talking to you like this, right? And then out of the blue, it was like somebody ran her under a tap. So you know how you feel like when you get a bit soaked? No, but just soaked like that, just like her literally stuck to her body. Now imagine you're at work and nobody understands that. And of course, you know, Nick Ferrari said, well, some women have very heavy periods and, you know, he's not going to experience that. Well, no, of course he's not going to experience that. But why not just have one symptom that is so horrendous for a lot of women, then add to that, and then you'll be thinking, oh my God, there's all these other things they're dealing with.
But that one symptom that the suit gives you, I get that anyway. I don't need a warm chest.
Loose women wanted him to wear
it. I don't need a warm chest for me to have a deregulated fucking body temperature, body thermometer, or whatever it is. I'm constantly blowing hot and cold.
But when we were talking about this morning, we remembered that we didn't do the labour suit. Because
remember
we were going to do it. No, and then we went into the pandemic and then we forgot. So I'm on it this afternoon. I'm hoping to get the labour suit for Mark to do the fake labour.
But I don't want to be even hotter than... I mean, I get hot. I have
so we're going to get the sort because we promised them that.
Does anyone think men go through their own menopause? Does anyone think that men have... Yeah. Obviously not as strongly, and it's not looking to eclipse the woman's experience, but... We are all hormonal beasts, aren't we? We are all kind of creatures built of hormones, driven by hormones. Presumably, men must have some kind of wobble.
Well, men's testosterone does decrease, but I think also, if you just take out the hormonal shit, which of course is impossible because it's what drives us all, I think in the middle of your life, one questions so much, and I think that for men... Often they'll get to a middle age, and because they don't have the same conversations that women do about life and love and everything, we can talk for hours and hours and hours. Because men often don't have that kind of intense conversation. I think they get overwhelmed with their inner thoughts and the echo chamber that they're in, and then low mood comes in, and so
I think there's a fear.
I just think it manifests in a different way.
But I think there's a fear that if one, and I understand why, because everything is tilted theoretically towards men, isn't it? So I suppose if men start to talk in an equivalent manner, many women who have been for years fighting for recognition will be like, oh, typical, men are already at the party banging on about their own experiences. I mean, I get it. I get why it's not equivalent. Jen Leggs, I have shown one of your comments. I noticed you're posting it an awful lot, the need to rant about Matt Handjob. I have, for some reason, YouTube's holding it back, but I have shown it, so it has come up. So
what?
This comment here, but it keeps coming up. Katie Wilson, finally in the NHS, they are supporting menopausal staff, support groups, different uniforms, podcasts, etc.
Supporting, yeah, exactly. And you know, this has got noise everywhere, this policeman doing this police chief, and you know, other companies need to do the same thing. So I think it's a great idea.
It's 100 years of the BBC, guys.
Oh, let's have a little trip down memory lane.
Is it Auntie?
Yeah.
Uncle.
It used to be
BBC
BBC
auntie. They could call it the auntie.
Corporation. No, what is it called now? It's Corporation. What was it called then?
British Broadcasting Corporation.
No, but it's changed now, hasn't it?
What do you mean?
No, it meant a different thing. The C they were saying on
British
LBC.
Broadcasting.
Company, and now it's
Wasn't it?
yeah. They were saying it on Radio 4 this morning.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we've got a little timeline
Yeah,
here.
it was company to begin with, and now it's
Was it?
corporation.
Oh, right,
yeah.
right back in the 40s or
Yeah.
whenever it was. London 1948, the first televised Olympics. What are your memories? What are some of your highlights in the life of the BBC?
When you think of the rosy times of the BBC,
good old days.
the good old days. We're not necessarily talking about now. What comes up? I mean, my parents still adore Dad's Army. They watch it almost daily because it just makes them. Dina watches loads of old BBC comedies and films, and I think it's a really good escapism. I love that my parents do it, and Dina, when she's feeling a bit down, goes back because it just felt like an easier time, a simpler time, didn't it? So
What, a sort of more innocent kind of sitcom?
So
you
what
mean?
would you settle down to just take a little trip back?
I think my fondest memories of the BBC, I think, I'm not, you know,
Morecambe and Wise.
well, they were ITV though as well, weren't they?
Oh.
Yeah.
But did they start on the
between the
Morecambe
two.
Wise?
Yeah.
On BBC.
Yeah, they were one of those few acts that kind of bounced between the two. But for me, children's television was the biggie for me. I mean,
Okay, what was your-
You know, going right back, my first memories of Play School, Blue
Yeah.
Peter, you know, all that Grange Hill.
When the Blue Peter badge meant so much.
Yeah, Grange Hill. You know, all those kind of shows. For me, it kind of Swap Shop on a Saturday morning was
Was that BBC?
absolute-
Oh,
yeah,
it was an
'cause
absolute
It was up
hat
against
to watch
Tiswas,
it.
wasn't it? And
Oh, I
Swap Shop.
loved Swap Shop.
Swap Shop was such an important part. So for me, actually, the BBC was, you know, Monty Python's Flying Circus. I remember it being on in the evenings and not understanding why the adults were roaring with laughter. I mean, it wasn't watched at I had two ends of the spectrum. My mum used to watch things like, I don't think it was on the BBC, Clive James's chat show, Monty Python.
Cracker Jack.
It's a Knockout.
It's a knockout.
Is that BBC? I mean, this is the problem. At the top of the
The
pops.
Magic Roundabout, Mo Power. I loved the magic, the sound of that. And we used to say, and we used to go through the window, the arch window, and there was a coziness.
The
to
Good
telly.
Life. The Good Life, Katie
Oh,
Wilson.
one of my all-time favourites, The Good Life.
And possibly one of my other all-time favourites, Porridge.
Porridge. Oh my God, Porridge.
Porridge.
And what was the one they only did 6 episodes?
Clive James was so good. Well, I think Porridge. There were fewer episodes made of Porridge than.
I wonder if they're
going
going to play loads of
The
old
Adventure
ones.
Game, Debbie Otero.
I don't know
thank
that
you.
one.
Yeah, it was like a precursor to. Some would say Big Brother. This is the show in which kids had to get through something, and they had that grid at the end, didn't they? And they had a yucca plant that would go.
Mind you, I am 6
And
years
you'd have to
older.
throw a sandwich onto the kind of vector
What?
graph, and you'd have
Are
to
you
cross.
sure?
And then they had to break out of sort of odd kind of what they call breakout rooms. What are they called? Breakout
I've
rooms.
no idea what
Escape
you're talking
rooms and
about.
all
I'm
that
in a
kind of stuff.
parallel universe.
Grange Hill was great. Who remembers the most vivid thing I remember from Grange Hill?
Open all hours, Lorraine.
Grange Hill, your dad was in that. My most vivid thing I remember in Grange Hill is the sausage on a fork coming in. Do you remember
Yes,
that?
love that.
Always remember
Janine
that.
Amory says, oh God, where is it now? Up a bit. She just said one and I can't remember what it is. I'm reading so many of them.
No. Janine loved Swap
Play
Shop.
away. Play away. Play away.
Noel
play
Edmonds'
away.
House. But it's interesting what you guys like. Noel Edmonds'
Let's have
House
a read
Party.
of
Oh,
other
40
people.
Towers. You're right. There are only
Let's read
12
some
episodes
names
of
and
that.
what.
Shelley Brewer, Only Fools, One Foot in the Grave.
Yeah.
Karen Oliver, 40 Towers had just 6 episodes.
Yeah, that's the one. 40 Towers. We've got a butterfly.
Janine Amory, Andy Butterflies. Janine Amory, Andy Pandy.
Andy Pandy's coming to play.
Claire LC, Crackerjack was the BBC. Do you remember they used to have to hold was it a cabbage or a lettuce at the end? Do you remember Crackerjack?
Yeah, I do.
And they all had to hold as much as they could at the end. And
Oh,
then
that's
they'd
right.
add a cauliflower or cabbage, and if you drop whoever, and it's brilliant.
That's right.
I love that. Rent a Ghost, Ross Souch. Was that BBC? Oh, Jen Leggs, Ever Decreasing Circles.
Oh, which
I
one was
love-
that? Oh, was that with Richard Bryars?
Yeah, where him and Penelope Wilton.
Yes,
And he was
yes.
he would walk into the house and he'd always put the phone round,
I
just
love
like my
that one,
granddad
Jen.
did. Bless This House, Teresa
Stacey,
Hutchinson.
old EastEnders, don't watch it now.
Oh, the
In
two.
the old EastEnders.
Yeah, the two Ronnies. I think.
Great, the
did
two Ronnies. Do you remember the story at the end? I used to love the story when he'd sit in the
when
big
you sit
chair.
in the big chair.
Oh my God. Okay, so you've got one
BBC show.
that you could bring back.
One BBC show that
What
you
would
could
it
bring
be?
back.
What would it be? Not that you would bring back. That you've had an afternoon to while away. You'd sit and watch. What would it be? Can't bring any of them back because they're all dead.
I'd probably sit down. I think Porridge would be one. I think Faulty Towers would be another. Those what at the time they're not just comedies. What I like are shows where the comic acting in them is brilliant. Open All Hours I thought was sensational. I thought
dad did one of them.
yeah, but between Ronnie Barker and David Jason in the shop, it was just. I mean, my nan and granddad loved Last of the Summer Wine. I never got that. It kind of was a bit too pastoral for me. It was a bit too kind of, in the country. I just want to share with you just a couple of kind of headlines, because of course there's nothing better than an article to jog your memory. 1974, do you remember the documentary series The Family?
Yeah.
Which they kept going back every 7
Yeah.
years? Or
First reality show.
First reality show. In September 1974, CFAX.
Oh,
Way before. My
God.
granddad used to have CFAX on over lunch. Life on Earth started as far back as 1979.
So CFAX was like the first Google, really, wasn't it?
In a sense. I mean, you
Yeah.
can search on it, but you could choose the page you wanted to look at. Breakfast TV started in January 1983. Where would we be without Breakfast TV? Who remembers? What was it called? Oh my God!
What?
The Birmingham. What was the middle of the day program on BBC? Pebble Mill.
Oh,
Pebble
yeah.
Mill was the
Pebble
first
Mill.
daytime
Can you remember what the
afternoon show.
music was?
No, my
It
granddad
had a
used to
very
have it on in the
distinctive
afternoon.
music, didn't it?
Pebble Mill. 1985, EastEnders started. I will never forget the first episode of EastEnders when they broke into that house and someone was dead in there.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
wow, what is this? This is fascinating.
Can I just say, there's lots going up about these programmes, but you light the fire of the menopause conversation. I mean, there's
there's a
many
slight
women-
time delay
They're
up there,
still talking
Yeah.
about that. Because
Pixie-
it's never the wrong topic to
No.
discuss.
Petal loved Pebble Mill.
Yeah.
Reg Cox, Jen Legs. Let's just have good.
Oh, look, yeah, Shelley Silver, I booked a holiday on CFAX. My
Did
mum
you?
used to book the holidays on CFAX.
Oh my God! Crossroads was ITV because they used to have the kind of
Yes,
they had the thing.
yeah.
In it. Live Aid was in 1985.
And Top of the Pops, I mean, come on, you didn't miss Top of the Pops, did you?
No,
You would sit down to watch it, appointment of
absolutely.
view, they call it in Teleworld.
Yeah.
So nostalgic. The good old days, exactly. And it's Mike Yarwood. Oh, yeah, do you remember his show, Mike Yarwood?
Yeah, was he on BBC?
I think he was.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be wrong.
Top of the Pops.
But
It's a
anyway.
shame, isn't it? Because so many shows have been kind of poisoned by the awful realisation that there were so many nasty people making them.
We need to do 2 welcome songs before we go. 2 welcome songs to the family guest area, which is Lucy Williams.
Lucy Williams,
Welcome
welcome.
to the family
Lucy Williams,
guest
welcome.
area.
No, that was awful. Do it
I was
again.
doing an under thing.
No, that was
Okay.
awful.
Let's do a round. Lucy Williams, welcome.
What's
You
a round?
start. Where I start.
Lucy Williams.
Lucy Williams,
Lucy,
welcome.
Lucy Williams.
Williams, welcome.
Lucy
Lucy
Williams.
welcome, 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 welcome. Lucy Williams.
John Craven's News Round. That was great.
Oh, I
John
love that.
Craven's
And Banana
News Round was
Splits,
brilliant.
Ruth Blanford.
Yeah.
Rachel
I think
Kay,
that
Only
was
Fools and Horses.
And you didn't write down the surname.
Oh, God.
Carol. I kept saying it, but you weren't going to write it.
Carol.
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 Welcome to the family guest area. Carol, 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 Carol.
Welcome, Carol. Sorry we haven't got your surname written down, but welcome, Carol. Guys, have a lovely day. It's Monday.